If you've been on a journey of self-growth and self-development, I'm sure you've come to a realization that the hardest thing to do is to be honest with that person in the mirror. And at times, it feels an impossible thing, is the hardest thing that we have to do, because at the end of the day, we have to be true to our own self. We can lie to others, but we cannot lie to ourselves, because at the end, we know that is fake, the life that we are living. And my experience, and not only for in my life, but being alongside others, I've noticed that, and I've realized there are two main factors that we kind of delay or sabotage our own personal growth. The personal growth and self-development is not just about persevering or doing the right thing or reading the right book or any of that stuff. And at the end of the day, we need to go to the foundational piece, the place where we can really make a difference and make that ultimate change. And in my experience, self-deception is the main force that stops us from self-growth and self-development and moving into a place of freedom and authenticity. So what does that mean? Well, there are two factors to that. There are two parts in the self-deception. The first one is we just don't know the truth. We accept lies and we don't question it. We just accept it. And the perfect example of it is that the lies that we have been growing up with in our society, in our culture, all the success stories that if you do this, if you achieve this, you're going to have a life of freedom and joy and happiness. If you do the right thing, if you be the best person and a supportive person, your marriage will last forever. Do this job and you get this promotion and this and that, you will end up feeling most fulfilled ever. And you realize that after all of that, there is something amiss. After being everything that you thought it's accepted by the society in the measuring stick that they have created, and you check boxes in each one of them, and all of them is done, and at the end you realize that, yeah, okay, in that world I'm successful, but there's something amiss still. So that's the first one. We just accept the lies and we build our lives on that. And the next one is refusing to accept the truth. The truth is there. We realize that the truth is there. We realize that this is the way it is, and what we have thought of or how we lived has been a lie. But what we do is that we ignore to accept it. We refuse to believe it, because believing that that's the truth is contrary to what we knew. It means that you have to completely change your own identity. That means that you have to reinvent yourself. And that's scary. That's very scary. That goes against the ego. That goes against the comfort. Remember, the first part where we just don't know and we accept the lie is that it's just easier. It's comfortable. Change is hard, right? So being comfortable, being safe is part of human nature, and ego loves that, right? So we don't seek the truth, and then we accept lies. And in second, the moment you realize that, yeah, this is not how it should be, and this is a lie, and you see yourself in the mirror and you know that it is, and then you just don't want to accept it, that is a sign that now you have to change who you are, your identity, to be the true person that you are. and you do the resistance. You resisted with everything that you got. And I like to share my life story, life experience very shortly in both cases. Okay, the first one is again, living this lie, the fact that accepting the lie, right, and believing it, that if I do everything right, either as a partner, as a husband, or as a professional, as a teacher, and life will hand me the best possible future and everything will be great. All right. And when I got sick, this was about 15 years ago, and I had to adjust my profession as a teacher, and I was an administrator, vice principal, and at that moment I got sick. And when that happened, my whole identity was completely shifted. Look, I just didn't know who I was anymore, because up until that moment was that, okay, I've done everything right. And the success illusion was that if I keep doing what I was doing and accept the accolades of others, then everything will be okay. And that wasn't the case at all. So I got sick, and I realized that I was still the same person, and the narrative that I had in my head was that you're not good enough yet, so therefore you got sick, and now you cannot continue in the journey of my profession to be, reach the highest pinnacle of whatever that level was. And all of those narrative, that's the default mode network in the brain, the narrative that keeps telling you that you're not good enough, right? But it was a lie, because I realized that all of the stuff that I was working for or working towards, and for the most part, was the accolade of others, right? That I did a good job, I'm a best teacher, I'm a great administrator, and all of that show the world. It turned out that none of those people cared. Not in a bad way, just that they still saw me as person, as me, who I am. And so the narrative that I created, that I accepted as it was a lie. And once I realized that, it was a rude awakening for me. And the shift happened when I really truly let go of that and accepted that that is not who I am. My identity doesn't attach to that, because once the truth hit, I needed to believe the truth now. I couldn't reject the truth. So I have to accept the fact that that is not what it was and who I am, and I have to reshape my own identity. So I went from the person who first would have introduced myself as I'm an educator, I am a teacher, to a response as I am Naveed, I am a father, I am me, I am a loving, caring person. And not that they can be mutually exclusive, but the priority wasn't the identity. The priority was that my identity belonged to other more important and more meaningful virtues than these titles that I created for myself. That was the first story. That was the first one. And the second one was my divorce. And that was another. I lived this, accepted the lie. The lie was that, everything is okay. Everything is okay. Everything is going to continue. Everything is fine. Nothing is wrong. Well, just put your head down and do the best that you can. Be always supportive, and everything will be okay. And that person will continue, seeing your value, and then you become, the anchor for that person. That was a need. Basically. It was a fear of not being wanted, basically, right? So I accepted that lie without questioning it, right? And then once the divorce happened, the separation happened, then I had to reevaluate it, because at that place I was facing the truth now. I had to accept the truth, as hard as it was. I had to really now sit with it And I had two choices. One was to continue resisting the truth and live a lie, knowing the truth exists, or that accept the truth, face it, see it, and deal with the pain, accept the pain of change, and recreate my identity that is true to me. And that piece was very hard, the hardest thing that I've ever done. And it is the hardest thing that you will ever do. But it was the most valuable and most authentic way of finding freedom within me. So that forced me, I had to accept it. Of course, you don't have to accept it. And a lot of people don't accept that. But in my world, I accepted it. I said, there is no other way. So what do? I decided that I am going to recreate my identity, go back and understand who I am, and don't accept the lie anymore, and accept the truth, and start a journey of healing truly, that is for me and no one else, so that I know what it is that makes me, and in a way that I can show up for others, people around me, the loved ones and friends and family and all of that, that is more meaningful, that is more impactful. And that happened, that shift happened through that pain of divorce, because people and circumstances reveal things to us where we're stuck at. And in that specific position, the task is now forced on you to choose. And if you choose the right way, you will find the freedom that you have never found before. But if you choose the wrong way, what will happen is that you will just delay the pain down the timeline, and at one point it's going to come back in one form or another. It doesn't really matter. And for me, I was lucky enough to face that and accept it. I don't know why. My impetus completely was, I just needed to know why I felt the pain, the magnitude of that pain that I felt through the loss of my job, my identity, and the loss of my marriage. So those two pain at different timeline, they showed up, and they basically smacked me in the face and say, hey, you wake up. And the question that I had, that question led me to this self-discovery, where I really had no other choice to do this. So the question for you is exactly that. Where are you at? Are you still believing the lies? That's number one. What kind of a lies are you believing still and living that? And then if you're faced with the truth, are you accepting it regardless of how difficult and painful the truth is? And it always is, by the way. It always is, where you have to accept something that you never wanted to accept, because that means change, and change means painful, right? Change to something that you don't know is always more scarier, more fear-based than what you already have and you already know that is safe, even though that could be a life of mediocrity, okay? A life of misery, a life of monotonous energy, a life that you internally actually yourself don't want. There's something inside that is hurting, that is telling you that, and you keep resisting it. So share your journey, and let me know how you're doing, and if you agree or disagree, leave a comment below. Love to hear from you guys. Until next time, my friends. Until next time.